Hello and welcome, everybody. It's great to be here on KGRA, one of my favorite people on earth, my wonderful husband.
Hi, everybody.
And I'm Deb. Good to see you all. As you know, well, some of you know, we live in the beautiful state of Michigan. And spring has been really playing with us. We'll have spring for a moment, and then we have winter again. And, we're really blessed because we're kind of in the center of the state. And a lot of these ice storms have gone around us. So we have, I've had people get a hold of me and say, are you guys okay? Are you safe? We are safe. It has not gotten bad here at all. We did get a few of the storms, but before it got really icy, it warmed up a little bit.
It literally hit 20 miles north of us and really bad. But Colton Lake's kind of in a horseshoe mountain range, and sometimes we get protected from that stuff. So,
yep. So we are very, very, very blessed. A lot of our state is, still recovering. It's going to take quite some time for places like Gaylord and Petoskey and that whole area. I believe the UP as well, right?
Yeah, I was telling our producer that right now there's 20 consumer energy trucks right across the street. They've been working their tails off and trying to save people's power. So
right. Yeah, and a lot of people have lost power. We, knock on wood, have been blessed to not have lost power.
Yeah, because we usually do.
We usually do. But for some reason, the center of the state here, we don't normally get the really bad storms. So it's a blessing.
And they can keep it that way.
They absolutely can. They absolutely can. So our guest is not with us yet. Not sure. I'm hoping everything is okay.
Yeah, we've been trying to contact him for quite a while here, but so as soon as he comes in, we will get him on.
Yeah.
Hopefully. If not, I'm sure we'll try to make the hour entertaining and get through this.
Absolutely.
I see some of our special peeps are here on the chat.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so
hi to Jen and to Val and to Liz and to Brian. Brian, I'll put this back up after Peter comes on.
And Sylvia.
And Sylvia. And our one and only from Voices of Contact, Ms. Mary Basket.
Hi, Mama Mary. What's going on?
Mama Mary. So everybody knows her.
And I don't know if she's going to mind me sharing this, but she let us know the other day she had a sighting down by her. And it's very exciting. And they were in the car, right? When it happened.
Yeah, and it was right after recording a show for Voices of Contact.
Yeah.
And anybody who listens to that show, you need to know, well, anybody that listens knows every single week we have crazy things happen. We have like Morse code come through. We have voices come through. Technical things will just very weird, odd things will happen.
Yeah, voices talking over with our voices, and it's not an echo. It's not even us talking. It's somebody else. Like I'll be talking, you hear a female's voice talking.
Right. Our next two shows are going to be wild because it was like there was full conversations going on in the background behind us. So our listeners, we keep saying if anybody knows Morse code or anybody can figure out what is being said behind us, we would love to know that.
And hopefully it's not saying SOS or something like that.
Right. You never know. Yeah. So speaking of Voices of Contact, that is a show. It is on our, it's many places, iTunes, all over the place. But the main place that people find us is our YouTube. It's Mystical Awakenings Vodcast with a V, and this show is also on there. We are on Friday nights at 8 o'clock, so tune in. It's a great show. Just trying to read some of this.
And so Mary said, see, it's up here, a big flash of light. Very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
3 times, very slow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Jen is saying, big flash of light, you say. That's so interesting. There are a few flashes in the sky over here by me. Very subtle, but I noticed. And I love, we talk about that quite often, that once you have an experience or once you have made some kind of contact, you can't, then you notice.
Well, that reminds me, I was out here feeding the birds like I do every morning. And something told me to look back above the store here, and I had 3 flashes too.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and that was like, this last fall sometime, early fall.
Wow.
But I just said thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's quite a busy sky.
Right.
I think that, we've got to the point we can't walk outside to go to the store without always looking up. Sometimes I'm amazed that we don't hurt ourselves or something. But so far, so good.
So we're still waiting for our guest. I'm not sure what's going on.
Something may have come up.
Yep.
So our guest tonight, somebody already dropped the ball. If he can make it, will be Peter Robbins, and he is one of the coolest guys in the field.
Yeah, he's been around a long time. He's good friends with Bud Hopkins, and he's just been around, a long time. Yeah. And he's been doing a lot of events and forever and speaking on stuff. And I was watching a video of him today about he was doing a speech on the photos from Mars and the moon, which was interesting. And I'm not sure how long ago that was, but definitely there's things on those places that NASA knows about.
Right.
And they're just saying it's a play of light, which it's not. But interesting structures on the moon and Mars for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and someday, I think in the fairly near future, all of this stuff will be a lot more known and accepted.
Hopefully, it seems like we get to a point where it's getting really wrapped up and we think we're getting close and then it goes away.
Kind of like our spring, huh?
Yeah. So, it's, after the last meetings in the White House, it's exciting to see, and it wakes more people up for sure. But then once it's done, it's done. And it's like, okay, we heard you, and okay, where do we go from here? So,
yeah, where do we go from here? Well, I think we should go lots of places.
Yeah, so it's it's a very, very delicate subject and a very delicate disclosure is a very delicate thing because there's no easy way to do it. It's not going to be fast enough for some people, and for some people, it's just going to blow their minds to the point where they're just going to think, everybody's crazy. So you got to find a way to do it.
Well, I think, my opinion, and this is only my humble, honest opinion, is that we have been, and it's going exactly as it's supposed to be going. And we have been slowly getting more and more and more information. Experiencers are more and more willing to speak out. I've said for a long time, we've both said that the government really isn't going to be who brings disclosure. I mean, it would be nice if they said, oh, we've known this all along, but it is honestly the experiencers telling their stories around the world. And, many of them, I mean, Deb Cobble, who was on, Voice Contact with us, and also a very good friend of Peter's. She worked directly with Bud Hopkins. She had a lot of physical proof in her case. It was in her yard. She had things done to her. It's just, there's quite a lot.
And our government, a lot of people that are government officials are very afraid to come out and say something because, let's face it, the people in control don't want this to happen because it's going to change our lives. And it boils down to money and controlling. So if this happens, there's a whole new sheriff in town.
Yeah.
And so, but some people are coming out. It's happening a little here, a little there, but the military is the one who knows.
Right.
They know the secret military and maybe the secret space program and all these things that if you've paid attention that are happening. What's that?
Okay, so I have had an offer from Mama Mary to hop on with us if we would like a guest, because something has come up with Peter. I'm sure he got tied up somewhere. So if that's okay with Bill, I will send her the link. And
that's fantastic.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I just have to grab the link real quick.
So, a little change of plans tonight. We've got the wonderful Mama Mary, who is the founder of the other show that we're on, Voices of Contact. And we can't wait to talk to her.
Okay. And it's on its way. Yes. Of course, we would really love to have Peter on, and we will.
Yeah.
We have some announcements to make with him, but I'm not willing to make it without him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder what that is.
I can't say. But I can tell you that he is one of the most passionate people in the field. He has been going at this for years and years and years. And, he's still doing his podcast, Meanwhile, here on Earth. He's written books. He's done so much, and he's relentless. He sticks with it. He doesn't back down. He's very honest and sincere with all of his work. And I respect him a ton. So I'm looking forward to getting him on the show and just really praying that all is well.
Yeah.
So, Mama Mary, I sent you the link. Oh, Sylvia says she saw him on TV yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing. And, I'd love to be a little fly on the wall back in the days that he did all this work with Bud Hopkins, because, I can only imagine the two of them talking, because they are so passionate about it.
Speaking of passionate.
Yay!
Hi, you guys.
We don't have to really introduce Mary, also Mary Bassett.
Yeah.
You are the founder and the main host and the regressionist of the Voices of Contact, as well as all of the other things that you do.
All over the place.
You're all over the place. Plus, you work full time, and sometimes I wonder how in the heck.
I'm beginning to think she really likes it.
I do.
Yeah.
Lots of naps.
Right?
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell the audience a little bit about your sighting the other night? That was right after recording, wasn't it?
It was. Yep. When we were done recording, I drove over to Charlotte to get my son from practice, and it was still daylight. That's what was interesting when we were on our way home. And all of a sudden, before I turned down the one side road that I usually go down, right above the tree lines, like right above it, I saw this big flash of white get really big and then slowly get back together. And I'm like, huh, what is that? And then it happened 2 more times, just like that, in the same spot. So I was thinking that, maybe it was like a cell phone tower or something like that. So
Right.
I was looking for that and then saw absolutely nothing. There's no source whatsoever that light was coming from. And then I realized that cell phone towers have red lights, not big flashing white lights like that. So
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I just
Okay,
thought it was cool because it was after we recorded. So
yeah.
So it was like when you say a white light, though, it was like a sphere. It was.
yeah, it was a big ball of light and then it just slowly went back together.
Oh, wow.
My gosh. Wow. Wow. Yeah, I love having sightings like that. We've had similar. You told the group about that.
Yeah.
It's so exciting. Back in the day, it might have been a little bit fearful. Now we see things, we're purposely looking.
Mhm.
And now when we see something, it's like, oh, wow. We just, it's our
It was
happy
cool.
place.
Yeah, we watched one move very slowly across the street here one night. Remember that? And it was about the size of a beach ball, I would say.
Mhm.
And then it very slowly it went into the trees and just disappeared.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that high off the ground either. It was probably 40 yards off the ground.
You gotta love it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we were just saying, good show, keep up the
Right.
good work.
Well, I was going to ask you if you felt the same way I do about it. It's like we get a lot of interference because I think that they do appreciate that we're putting this out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very different because we work directly with experiencers, and their regressions. So,
Although there may be some people that don't want us to put it out there.
right.
And probably, I'm sure.
Peter is here.
Oh.
So we're going to bring him in. Peter, welcome.
Thank you, and my apologies. My muffler
It's
fell
okay.
off.
Oh my gosh.
Things
And-
happen.
That's why I'm late. That's an excuse I have never used before, will never use again in my life. But it's true. Thank you first for having me on the show. And
Yeah.
given the shortened time, I'm glad to come back as soon as you'd like me back on the show.
So that's
Anyway,
quite a
I'm
loud
glad
experience.
to
Huh?
be here.
Yeah.
And Mary was kind enough to step in for a little bit to help us out. I know that you two have met because Peter was kind enough 1 or 2 shows of the Voices of Contact to fill in with us. So I know the 2 of you have met.
How you doing, Peter?
Good. It's actually feeling like spring here finally.
Lucky.
Yeah, and looking around, seeing how much stuff there is to do on the property and how behind in all my other stuff I am, as usual, but better to be busy than waiting for work.
Right. So right as you were coming on, Peter, right before you came on, we were talking about, we had recorded 2 shows Tuesday night, and when Mary left, she had an experience, had a sighting. And it seems like this has become very common with the Voices of Contact. We get voices coming in. We get like Morse code. I'm sure Deb Koppel has probably filled you in on some of that. And we feel that it might be because a show like that is appreciated. So I would love to hear your take on it.
Well, have you had experiences with Morse code in the background on your radio?
I feel out of my depth here. Can you restate the question in a way? It's not an area I'm used to focusing on.
So as we're doing our show, recording our shows, we get a lot of all of a sudden Morse code will break in. We get voices coming in from nowhere. We get these strange, just weird noises. I mean, they're distinctly there. But what else? What else do we get, Mary?
Well, and sightings afterwards.
Where are you physically? Where are you guys located?
Michigan.
In a rural area or in town or?
Rural, mainly rural. I mean, Deb's on the show. Deb Cobble. She's in Indiana, but she's not in a rural area. But it's weird because a lot of times you won't hear it.
What I can say is, in my entire professional or personal life, I don't think I've ever had those experiences.
Yeah,
interesting.
It's become like a daily thing. We always point it out. We always point at our ear when we hear it, and sure enough, it's there. And we even ask people to, if you know Morse code, please help us out here. But I told her it might be saying SOS. So.
Well, there's plenty to send out an SOS about.
Yes.
So,
and I hope they're getting our SOSs.
But I was just curious if you had that happen on your show, because I know you do shows all the time. So
I've done 400 or 500 shows. I'm trying to think if I've had any guests that have reported that. Maybe there's a bunch I've forgotten.
Right.
I was watching a video of yours, a lecture you were doing about the pictures from Mars and the moon, and you were talking about Richard C. Hoagland. I was a big fan of him. Were you?
I really admired Richard's early work tremendously.
Right.
And I got to meet him really early on, 1990 or so, and heard him speak not just at a couple of conferences, but several times at the United Nations. Not officially, but they had the equivalent of a club that could invite interesting guests. But he spoke several times at the UN, and his presentations on Cydonia, Face on Mars, I thought they were terrific, and I still think there's a lot to them. As his work progressed, I have not kept up with it, nor your focus shifts. There's so much out there, but yes, I've had really second thoughts over the years about the old official explanation for the face on Mars, and that it really was just a refraction of lights and only looked like a face, but really looked like this photograph here, which doesn't look like a face. At first, I simply, accepted it could be. I'm no scientist. And over the years, I've had second thoughts about that. It may well be there. We don't know. Or we don't have it confirmed.
For the people who don't know who he is, that man, I'm telling you what, I don't know. That man can talk, and he can talk, and he can talk. And I'm telling you, I used to listen to it on the Art Bell show, and Art kind of got a little frustrated because he just kept going and on. But his research was phenomenal. I mean, I was a little bit out there, but it was made you open your mind. I'll tell you that. Yeah,
and you're right. I mean, he really could hold an audience for an extraordinarily long period of time.
Yes, he could.
Right.
Yeah. So what have you been doing? What do you got going on?
Well, working on that project, certainly. I'm involved in a number of UFO conferences, either in assisting in production or speaking or what have you. But looking forward to being at Contact in the Desert, coming up the end of next month and into June.
Right.
And a fair amount of independent writing at this point, several book-length projects being drafted out. But you know how it is sometimes. it's almost like walking around with a divining rod and seeing where it dips and at what point you're really that caught up in the work.
Right.
And some collaborative work with a number of colleagues, obviously keeping an eye on the bigger picture of how this drama is now being played out officially in the House of Representatives with their committee meetings, and how that, what a big difference. Who would have imagined X number of years ago that we'd be having whistleblowers talking about off-Earth craft there testifying in the House?
Well, let me ask you this, though. I mean, is it, we were talking about this just before you came on, that, is they talk about it, but and everybody gets excited and it brings new people on board, but when it's done, it's done. I mean, it just kind of falls off back to where it was. I mean, in my opinion, but it's good it's happening. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but it just seems like it gets you up to this level, and all of a sudden, where to go? So,
well, again, we're in what I would call the post-ridicule era. Certainly for the first 70 years of modern age of UFOs,
right.
For popular culture and for most people wired up for start, it was just a signal, an indication, shorthand for hi, I'm a little crazy, or eccentric, or believe in Martians, or
Right.
And then it turned around more than half a dozen years ago to a good degree, and one of the biggest differences that we've seen, certainly over the last decade or so, is that academics in all specialties who have had probably the same ratio of interest in the subject as the general public, but do not talk about it.
Right.
Certainly didn't share it with colleagues or make it public. Same thing for the professions. And now you've got major professors, universities and colleges, major political figures who know that this is not going to ruin their career. It's just, it's not an issue anymore at that level. And that's a remarkable change.
Yeah. Well, as growing up, I always heard that as you got older, you became more patient, but I can tell you that's not true. I just want more and more. And I'm happy about it. Like I said, that this is getting out and more people are coming on board and more people are looking up and more people are paying attention. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, it is. And it's healthy for our culture as well. I think some of us visualize that word disclosure with a capital D at first as, all world leaders going on TV at the same moment and speaking to their people and all that. But it's a process, isn't it? And it's been happening. And every day, more people are enrolled in it. Certainly those who have sightings, experiences, paranormal events related to UFOs. But it's still expanding arithmetically, not geometrically.
Right.
5, 7, 3, but all over the world, it's the way it is. We're not near the tipping point, though that may not matter. Who knows what's really playing out behind the scenes,
right.
With the folks that move the chess pieces, as opposed to how it looks. Sometimes I think if you play with a cat, they're smart. And if you're sitting on a bed and you take your arm and you show it to the cat and you stick it under the covers and you start to do that, the cat immediately reacts as there's a new life form and it has to be destroyed. The moment you take the hand out, no big deal. It's that playful interaction.
Right.
But, it's what's going on under the blanket, basically.
Before I forget, Mike Ricardo said to tell you hi. I talked to him today.
Good. Oh, very good. I'll be seeing him soon.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. Yep. So
he is wonderful and normally at UFO Contact. He may not make it this year. We're very sad about that. But I would like to announce that, I got my way this year. And we have invited somebody who I respect very much. And he has said yes. And that is Peter Robbins will be speaking at Michigan UFO Contact in Houghton Lake this year, this September.
And thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter. We are so excited to have you there with us.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it already.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I think you're really going to like it. It's kind of a different conference, but it's very, very closed and like-minded people.
Intimate.
Yeah, intimate, yes.
It's more intimate. It is, by far not Contact in the desert, but it is Contact in Michigan.
Yes.
So.
Right.
No, that'll be a first for me. I've never spoken there, but it does sound a bit like the Burning Man of UFO conferences.
We love it. Deb Cobble, a good friend of yours, is with us.
A dear friend of probably more than 40 years.
Right. Now, were you worked with Bud when Deb's case first came up, correct?
You bet.
So that's quite a history of working together and friendship. I know that she absolutely admires you and respects you, and she is very excited that you're coming this year.
Well, I have been in love with her since we met, and I just consider her one of the dearest, most savvy, most observant, courageous, outspoken, and fabulous women I've ever met.
Yes.
That's a good way to put it, for sure.
I love that, Peter, and we feel the same way about her. In fact, that was another thing that came up right before you came on. We were talking about experiencers basically being the point of disclosure. And it goes way back to people like Deb, who, her experience was so mind-blowing. There were, physical evidence. There was, just one thing after another with her. And then she was blessed enough to hook up with Bud Hopkins and with you and have regressions. And
I think they're back now. And I don't know if you talked to her lately, but she's been having quite the experiences going on again. So,
not to mention the weather.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
She is not a fan.
No. But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So she has, it's experiencers like Deb that we really need to be so grateful for.
Yeah. Well,
not only did she have it, but she was brave enough to step forward.
You're absolutely right. And especially at a time when there weren't not only that many out UFO abductees, but it was still it was a cultural joke. And ironically, some of it was the result of the fact that it might have been the first, was it The Simpsons or not The Family Guy, but the episode dealing with UFO abduction. And right at the time that Whitley Strieber's book came out.
Oh, wow.
And, his name became highly associated with that. And for him, it was not an enjoyable experience.
Right.
And at the same time, it embedded the subject in popular culture as well as in the real world of very serious, scientific as you can be, UFO-related research.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that definitely opened the door. Pandora's box for sure.
So do you think things like that happen by coincidence?
Well, one of the things we can say, I think, pretty much definitively is that they, for lack of a better term, seem to follow bloodlines. That if it happened to you, the likelihood is quite overwhelming that it happened to one of your parents. And at first, that seemed to be the exact opposite of logical thinking. I think most of us thought of it as like getting hit by lightning. If it happens to you, it's very rare, and it's not going to happen a second time. And it seems to be the exact opposite.
Right.
If it has happened to you, it has happened to you before. It may happen to you again, and it runs in your family along one bloodline or another.
Right.
And Mary, it was really an idea to get the show, the Voices of Contact. We're finding that out, right, Mary? That
Well, that
through regression, that you're finding that out, yeah.
it certainly, one could debate about the reason and why they are interested in one family line rather than another. Although maybe like in scientific research, there's a certain randomness to the initial action, and then you simply follow a thread of information after that.
Right.
One thing I know for sure after all the years that I've had a compelling interest in this area of the UFO subject is how little I really know definitively, empirically could present in a court of law. I'm better informed than most people, but those people that seem to know the greatest amount of minutia about what they allege is their knowledge about certain civilizations and things, they lose me sometimes. The first thing in the world of UFOs is that we don't have an overseeing governing body, UFO research. It's not like the AMA or the overlooking of professionals and catching them on the wrong. If you're an attorney and you mess up, you maybe go before the bar association, you can lose your license.
Right.
We don't have licenses.
Right.
We grant ourselves the titles of, ufologist, and people follow very different thinkings from the highly scientific and quiet and methodical to extremely colorful. And it's a big tent.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I like to call some of it divine science because I think it's just some of it's way beyond what we can imagine. I mean, our science here is our science, but we're just touching the ice, tip of the iceberg of it, and what's actually really going on out there, we don't have a clue. I mean, most of it.
I think that's a very wise thing to say, RJ. I forget who said the original quote, but it was, if I'm off, it's a word or two, but the universe is not only stranger than we imagine, it is stranger than we can imagine. I think that's Shakespeare.
Right.
But it's true. And it's like a Pandora's box of Pandora's boxes. We will never get to the bottom of the mysteries that fascinate us. And can you imagine how boring life would be without mysteries?
Right.
Very boring. Very boring. So some of us see the whole phenomenon in all different aspects. For myself, I think it is very scientific, but I think if you leave the spiritual side out of it, you're going to miss a lot. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, Bud used to use an analogy that I still think is very apt. The 6 blind men and the elephant. Each blind man is feeling a different part of the elephant: the tusk, the trunk, the ear, the tail, the leg. And they're arguing with each other about what the nature of the elephant is. They all definitively know in their area of research what it is, and they're all correct and they're all wrong. It's a part of a totality. Mm-hmm. And again, no matter how good an imagination we have, this may be beyond that. I like to think we can all keep our senses of humor to some degree as we move forward in an incredibly serious area. I have grown to feel over the decades that there are an assortment of them, like there are an assortment of us, in all shapes and sizes imaginable, I think is possible. But we have certain descriptions that, follow through, like the Greys. I would say that accounted for 3/4, maybe 80% of the cases that Bud used to get. But to what purpose? Is there a spirituality involved on
Exactly.
their part or
Yeah.
on the part of some of them?
Yeah.
I think they're probably, again, how do we think like them? The best we can do is think like us. But how I've just literally um,
Well,
it's a bigger subject than we can take in one gulp, so
right.
to say. And we mechanize sometimes and fragment when there's something flowing through them all that we
Right.
I was telling somebody the other day, because I delve into a lot of different stuff, whether it be scientific or not, but I use my imagination. Some people call it speculation, but I call it using my imagination. Now, the Greys have me really baffled in a way because you hear the Pleiadians, you hear all these other races, but you never hear anybody else talking about what their purpose is. I mean, a few people, you talk about it and pretend or not pretend, they seem to know something about it, but I'm perplexed what their agenda is. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I do. And the best we can do is take educated guesses. Um, we routinely now gene splice in the plant and the animal world. And it's naive to think that an advanced species, however long ago, might have been doing the same thing here on Earth to tailor this particular being that emerged as Homo sapiens. And that maybe where somebody's graduate experiment gone horribly wrong and they've come back to try to get a better mark. Maybe this planet is more precious than we imagine to them for reasons we can only guess at. It may be a very important way station between here and there, although now some would call that naive. It's funny to think that the extraterrestrial hypothesis has become almost passé. There are so many more exotic possibilities that are being put forward in the sciences and in the world of imagination. Perhaps they are trying to create beings that are part us, part them. I mean, we can deduce that as well as we can. But why? So that we have a being that will be able to better survive on this increasingly challenged, toxifying planet. And maybe we need each other. Or maybe they're just doing everything they can to set things up to take over.
Right.
Know,
There's several different roads you can go down with this, and they're all just as true as the next one.
Whether or not we face this enigma with love or fear may not matter in terms of what their intentions are.
I know. That's right. It's got me a little out of edge a little bit.
I think the good news is that, if it was really bad news, we'd all know.
Yeah. I mean, but there's got to be an agenda there, and of course, we're all trying to figure that out. Or do we need to figure it out, or we can just hope for the best? It's a good agenda, and but it's strange because when you get into the field and you start, talking about other races out there, some just like us, and some are insect, and some are reptilian, and some of this with the Greys is just, I don't know, something about them. I'm just curious of what the agenda here, because they've been showing up here big time for the last ever. I mean, I don't know. They seem to be kind of running the show here, doing something.
We also can assume that these events go far back, but that there was no way people were going to talk about it in public. Right. Or even to their closest friends in times that were more superstitious. There's no hard statistics, but I would say, unless you've been, living a monastic life your whole life, or in a very rural place doing nothing and not having any media, that probably every one of us knows somebody that has had this happen to them.
Right.
And it's either their quiet central secret, and they live with it, or it's shared with a very small number of people, or they're in denial about it. But it may be considerably more than that. But I do think we all have that. That's something I think I can say that's fairly true.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I know one thing that Mary deals with as a regressionist with MUFON and on her own as well. She gets, and I hate to speak for you, Mary, but sometimes people who say, I had a bad dream and I want to know why, or I think I had this paranormal experience with a ghost and I want to figure this out. And it ends up being contact or abduction or something like that. So, I mean, we are seeing a lot more of that over time, that people who really didn't know that they had these experiences until they really dive into it. So my feelings are it's not as uncommon as what people think.
Yeah, I think you're right too. And again, other paranormal experiences, depending on the individual, have also been made fun of for years. Oh, you believe in ghosts. Oh, you're interested in ancient alleged civilizations with nuclear weapons, or choose your area of the paranormal. And it's used as just sort of a point of embarrassment. It may be that as often as not, individuals who are putting out that kind of message can't even allow themselves to consider that what you say is real, because if it is, then everything they thought they knew is now open to question. Right. And as I've said before, better to kill the messenger, and who don't even bother with the data. Just, you believe in this stuff, that's crazy.
Right. So in your experience working with Bud for as many years as you did he have a lot of those same types of things happen as what Mary has? People that come to him for regression, or was it mostly, abduction or a known UFO experience of some sort?
Good question. When he first became well-known in the work, which was with the publication of Missing Time, his first book in 1981, he started to get mail and, speak at conferences, that kind of thing, and get more and more reports, more and more people that wanted to speak to him about their experiences. Mm-hmm. And they were as varied as you can imagine in some ways. And in other ways, a lot of them had similar threads, details, narratives, evidence, physical evidences in some cases. And everything was logged in as scientifically as possible. Every interview, every hypnotic regression was done with an audio cassette. He started before handy cams and, personal VCR stuff was not around. But once it was rolling, very few people were that interested in having it filmed as much as just there was that record, the files that he kept, and their reports on differing experiences, often with witnesses. It was a multi-leveled investigation. I think that he probably in 35 or 40 years, or probably closer to 35, he spent time with, from maybe sitting and talking with somebody and perhaps a phone call, to someone he would meet with over the years repeatedly, who wanted experiences explored or just to talk. 800 people, perhaps, in the records by the time he retired, so to say.
Wow.
That's a lot. Mary, can you imagine?
Not yet, I can't.
It was also a very different climate. As we've talked about in terms of how serious and not serious the subject was taken. One thing about Deb's experience that very few people have is CBS decided to make a miniseries of it. And as you know, it's television. There was invention and confabulation, but it was in no way mocking or mean-spirited. And the core story, inspired by her story, was really intense and well done, especially for the time in the early 90s.
Yeah, because it's definitely come a long way since then. I mean, and kudos to all these people that came out. I mean, because in the past it was not easy. They had nothing to gain other than ridicule or whatever. So
yeah. And huge kudos to people like Deb Cobble and to Peter Robbins and Bud Hopkins, who did do this work back when it was so taboo. And that being said, we're down to 2 minutes. So, Peter, if there's anything that you would like to put out there, like how people can contact you if they need to or want to, what you have going on. I know you talked a little bit earlier about that. This would be a great time to do it.
My woefully outdated website is being rebuilt right now, but anybody who is on Facebook can reach me there, or I respond on Facebook as quickly as I'm able. And if you are going to Contact in the Desert, I'll be giving a couple of talks, workshop, moderating some panel discussions, and very much looking forward to meeting new friends and seeing old ones.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. We'll have you back on sometime before definitely.
Yes.
So
let's do it before the conference.
Yeah,
yes, absolutely, absolutely, and thank you again for accepting that invite.
Most welcome,
Mary. Thank you, Mary.
Yes, thank you, Mary, for stepping in.
We love you, and we will see you soon.
Everybody, have a great week. Thanks for being here with us and with Mary, and with Peter. We love you, and have a fantastic week. Until we meet again, may all of your awakenings be mystical.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.